Hey, good evening. Welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL Live Before Lock. Yes, Bills showdown at home on the road against the Texans in the Dome. This line actually has moved to 4.5 in some spots, interestingly enough. There were some 6s out there today, now some 4.5s. Interesting game, man. Two good defenses, one phenomenal defense. On all fronts, two good pass rushes, one bad run defense, and another great quarterback and another backup. So a hell of a lot to break down today. Glad to have you guys here. Man, this is the last week, Greg, until we get Thanksgiving football. And I was watching something the other day, and I hadn't even looked. The Thanksgiving slate of games is actually really sick.
Ooh, I haven't looked at any of them. Well, one thing that helps the Thanksgiving games, without a doubt, this has been the case for the last couple of years. The line's being good now because for whatever reason, the NFL has decided we have certain teams. It is tradition. They play on Thanksgiving weekend, Thanksgiving week, I should say, no matter how shitty or good these individual teams are. It helps immensely that the lines are actually good now because for so many years, probably the entirety of you and I's childhood, you had one game you could just write off with the lines on it because they were always going to be terrible.
Dude, it even goes further than that. Like you would have the Lions running out like Tim Boyle and stuff on Thanksgiving Day. I mean, it was terrible. At least there was a time where you could watch Calvin Johnson, right? But then when that went away, there was nothing to look forward to with that team. I mean, it's like, oh, cool, Kerryon Johnson. That's fun. Who was the Olympic sprinter or the Olympic runner that was a Lions running back? Had a shot at being good, but he was only around for a couple of years. Someone will mention him in chat. They're pretty good.
I don't know. Sounds more like a Raider than a Lion. That was the Raiders' MO in the Al Davis era for forever. It was just who's the fastest guy in the draft? Oh, he's projected to be a 3rd round pick. Cool, we'll take him 6th overall. Darius Hayward Bay.
And then they all somehow go and like kill someone. Javid Best. Yes, that was it. Javid Best. Good call. Thank you. Anyway, hey, good evening. Glad to have you here. If you don't mind, atone for your sins this evening, my friends. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. It's free. We appreciate you for it. Appreciate all of you who have rated and reviewed the Tails app, the podcast, all that stuff. Couldn't ask for anything else. That's all we ask for these days. Yes, Oscar Pistorius. If you want one of the funniest Norm Macdonald bits, go pull up the Oscar Pistorius bit on Conan O'Brien with Norm. Dude, it is
Blade Runner. The Blade Runner himself.
It is a gem. We got those rocket ships. You had it was amazing, man. Conan is like, what? So you don't think he should be able to run? He's like, no, I think a requirement to run is you should be a biped. And everyone in the audience. Good stuff. Anyway, let's get into it, man. I actually think there's a kind of a fun slate. Maybe that's just unique to me, but I like it. I like these type of slates where there's a few variations of how this game could play out, but it's really tough to say. But it also makes this slate really tough. And I was thinking about this actually as I was preparing for the show, Greg, and I wanted to mention it to you because I thought it was a remarkably profound thought. No, but in all seriousness, this is the type of game where, like, take a Woody Marks, right? If you were to put Woody Marks on, say, the Eagles, and he's their starting running back, it's possible that, like, they go into a game, even like a Saquon Barkley, it doesn't really matter. They go into a game, they're big favorites. It's still a close game. They still get the win, but Saquon Barkley just doesn't have a good game. And they go elsewhere. Except in the case of Woody Marks, and I'm just using him as a specific example because I think it makes the most sense. Like Woody Marks, if the Texans defense plays well, they could just run Woody Marks like 20 plus times against a really bad Buffalo defense. But the moment if there's a big if, but the moment they were to fall behind, like, you don't have a choice anymore. And now you have to throw 40 plus times as Mills has done in back-to-back starts. So Houston is that type of team that if the defense does not fully hold up, everything kind of goes out the window. Whereas there's other teams, it's like, well, he got the volume as expected. He just didn't get there. If Woody Marks gets the volume, he probably gets there. But there's also a very good possibility with Davis Mills starting against a good pass defense that the offense just doesn't get there at all.
I mean, also to what you said about Woody Marks, this is the case with any competent running back on any good team. They're probably going to be pretty good, which is always what's hard because it's like, obviously Saquon Barkley is better than just your average running back. This is just the debate that people have had for a while, though a little bit less so recently, about what is the actual value of a running back, what makes it really hard. Woody Marks is going to be, he's competent enough that on any really good team, he's going to be good and he's going to put up numbers. Saquon Barkley, as good as he is, we saw him on shitty Giants teams and the results were terrible the last couple of years there. Where like he had like what, a year and a half stretch with 100-yard rushing game. So,
but no, that's not what I'm saying. Okay, here's a better example.
Okay.
And this is helpful because you can build lineups with this type of thought, right? Take the Patriots last Thursday. There was virtually no way that the Patriots fell behind in that game. Okay. If Trevion Henderson didn't get there, it wasn't due to just like sheer lack of volume. It would have been because he didn't score touchdowns, and he just wasn't a fit. There was very little possibility. I'm not saying it's impossible, but very, very low probability that the Patriots would have fallen behind in that game. The same as there's a very low likelihood, small likelihood that the Ravens, as 13.5 point favorites against the Jets on Sunday, fall behind in that game. So when the running backs don't get there, they don't get there. What I'm saying with a guy like Woody Marks is you have to hit two things. You got to get two things right. The team has to keep it competitive first, and then he has to be able to do with the volume what you need him to do. That, you see what I'm saying? It's different than just like, oh, he didn't get there. There's multiple ways that he couldn't get there, and some of them may just be out of his control. I like Woody Marks today because I think the upside here is huge. But if the Bills score 2 touchdowns out of the gate, I may be throwing my hands up because I've got a bunch of Houston bets today as well.
Yeah, for bets. All right. So I did misunderstand what you were saying before, although it is funny because now even that I understand, here's the point that I kind of disagree with. I don't think the Bills going up by a bunch is the end of the world for Woody Marks just because he is capable of catching passes.
Yes, of course. But that's beside. Yeah. Mills has not targeted him much at all. And Mills has thrown like 90 times over the last 2 games for what it's worth. He probably has like 5 total targets. I'm not saying he gets phased out of the offense. I'm saying that smash spot becomes a lot harder to hit because the Bills are much worse against running backs on the ground than they are through the air. It's a very specific matchup advantage that Houston has that is hard to take advantage of otherwise. Truffle says, when you say falling behind, do you mean a 2-possession game because the Jets took an early 7 lead last week? No, I mean if they go down by a field goal. Yeah, of course. I mean, like if it's a significant, like if the Bills go up to a point where it's hard for Houston to come back. I'm not talking about a 7-0 lead. Of course not. That's a 1-possession game. Anyway, I still like him, Greg. Like I bet the over on Monday on rushing yards. There's always some reservations there, but that's what makes this game fun because this Houston defense is very good. Where are you guys at in chat? Let me know. And I want to know where Greg is. I think Houston gets up for this game at home on a short week. They're 5-5. There's 10 teams in the AFC that are 5 or 5 and better. Like they're not out of the playoff race yet at all. They kind of sleptwalked through that last game against the Titans, but they handled business in that huge come from behind win against Jacksonville 2 weeks out. I think they get up for this game.
The Bills are so confusing to me is the other part of this where the Bills play.
But this is what I'm saying, Greg.
The games are just so, and we talk about this on these Thursday night games all the time. Just random shit happens. We're 2 weeks removed from the Bills getting dog walked by a Dolphins team that looks like they're about to throw everybody in the trash in the entire team.
Yeah.
And now
they got smoked by the Falcons too.
They actually lost so bad to the Dolphins that people are like, should the Dolphins run back this exact same team next year? Like have the Dolphins turned a corner. And then they look really good last week against a pretty competent Buccaneers, although, admittedly beat up Buccaneers team, but still they dropped 44 points on them. You only put up 13 points against the Dolphins is like incomprehensible to me. And then you just have other games like you mentioned too. They lose on the road to Atlanta. There's other games too where it's like they were kind of competitive playing the Saints at home also. There's been all kinds of weird games with the Bills. So I think this, when it comes to Texas, I agree with you in terms of them just getting up for the game. This is a team that with Davis Mills at quarterback has generally seemed like they can overperform. And I know that last week, it was a team that I guess on offense was a little bit disappointing because it was only a 16-13 win over the Titans, but still, it's a road win with your backup quarterback. They've still won 3 of their last 4 games. Their only loss was to the Denver Broncos, and it was by only 3 points. So overall, they've looked pretty decent relative to expectations with Mills at quarterback. And at the very least, this team has been competitive all year. There is actually not a single game all year that the Texans have lost by more than 1 possession.
Right. Well, wait, Seattle? Was that 1 possession?
Yeah, 27-19.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, that was they were terrible in that game. But yeah, look, they're honestly, their defense is so good that they can keep them competitive. They're allowing 16 points per game at home this year. It's a very good defense. There's just simply no doubt about that. They really are a great defense. The Bills have a great secondary. They've allowed one pass play of 40 plus yards this year. Like they're good, man. But that's what makes it fun. So I like Woody Marks. I like Nick Chubb today too. Just as a guy. Well, you think about it, right? Kind of the forgotten man, but let's not forget it was only 2 weeks. It was last week, as a matter of fact, that their own offensive coordinator was saying, oh, look at that. We are getting a good amount of Nick Chubb exposure. Their own offensive coordinator was like, yeah, that, Woody Marks, the whole backfield split wasn't planned. It just went that way. And then they did the same thing last week. And D'Amico Ryans had said the rookie tags are coming off. They're not rookies anymore. So all of that clearly points in the direction of Woody Marks. But it's still only a 2-game sample of him getting the lion's share of opportunities. And this is still a very bad run defense for the Bills. So if the game script actually plays neutral to favorable for the Houston Texans, then Nick Chubb does benefit from that. And you could see his touch count climb to like potentially 8 or 9 carries in a game where they lean on the run. I promise you, if this is a competitive game, the last thing they want to do is have Davis Mills throw another 40 times. They don't want him throwing 40 plus times against this Bills secondary, especially with this Bills team having a very good pass rush. The Bills have one very clear, identifiable weakness, and it's on the ground. That's why I started the show off with this. The question is, can the Texans actually exploit that weakness by keeping the game close, or do they have to abandon the run? If they don't have to abandon the run, then I think not only Woody Marks, but Chubb looks good as well. And I have both of them in the same lineup in many lineups, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I think most importantly is to consider the ownership here when it comes to Nick Chubb. Like if we're just trying to build a lineup, it's like, this is what projects the best overall for the slate. Nick Chubb isn't going to be in like that cash game lineup, but we're talking about a 1-game showdown slate. Nick Chubb is very cheap at $3,200 and he's sub 10% owned. So if we're trying to talk about who are the viable contrarian plays on the slate, also reports came out early. Not that I think it's going to impact this game individually, but we did see reports come out earlier that Joe Mixon not expected to play this year. To be honest, I forgot he even existed. It's been so long since he's been relevant this year. But now you've got Nick Chubb kind of unowned at a very, very cheap price point.
He is. Yeah, it's like you're not going to get excited about it, but I think there's something there. I really do. Certainly no guarantee that he's going to be good on a day like this, but do I think he'll get some work? I genuinely do think he's going to get some work. And I think we've probably overcorrected a little bit, right, on Nick Chubb's workload. That's kind of what I'm getting at, Greg, is that there's been a pretty significant overcorrection there. And with that in mind, I'll get to some of him. I'll get to some Gabe Davis today too. Like, I mean, I boosted Gabe Davis last week. I used your patented move, right? Like I mega boosted him and then capped him at 10% because I had so much Josh Allen. I was like, man, with no Keon Coleman and no Dalton Kincaid, they have a long history together. And he had a 4th down conversion on that drive. He had an end zone target that was just fired at him like a rocket. I don't know how anybody catches that ball, but Yeah, I mean, I think Gabe Davis is also viable today. And going past last week, so Keon Coleman is inactive again today, but so is Curtis Samuel and Mecole Hardman, who wasn't going to get a ton of work, but he just got moved to the IR. So you could make the argument, sure, that it's a short week and Gabe Davis came back and played his first action all season long. I understand all of that. So maybe they do limit him. But the question is, if they limit him, Craig, then who are the primary beneficiaries? Because they're running out of guys. They're running out of guys that they're going to have, that they're going to be able to get the ball to. So that's another thing I think that's really worth considering.
Like, yeah, and then also you mentioned Gabe Davis. So also some other context here, because Loughran and I were talking about this right before the show started, but over on FanDuel, they've got the touchdown jackpot bonus bet, and Loughran and I independently both bet. I had no clue this is who Loughran bet. Loughran bet Gabe Davis. I bet Gabe Davis also on my own. It was something that Loughran posted details. I'm trying out some new Twitter content. It's like a thread of DFS breakdowns for all the different DFS slates of the day, and then also throwing some bets into it as well. So Loughran and I both bet Gabe Davis. There was only one pass catcher for the Bills last week who was targeted in the red zone by Josh Allen on a pass attempt. That was Gabe Davis. That was it. He was the only one. Now, does that mean that he's the only guy who's going to get pass attempts in the red zone going forward? No, that's certainly not the case. But when it comes to Gabe Davis, you're looking at a team that, like Loughran said, very shorthanded as far as pass catchers go. Keon Coleman, I still think Keon Coleman's one of the better wide receivers on this team, but for whatever reason, it seems like it's off the field issues. The reporting we got is that it's not some sort of performance-based thing. Not that he's been great on the field, but you're taking him out of the mix in addition to Mecole Hardman being hurt. And then you've also got Curtis Samuel hurt. There's just only so many guys to throw to. I think he's another pretty good contrarian option here that I also like betting on.
Yeah, I'm with you. The only weird thing is that I actually bet it hours ahead of you because we hadn't talked about this, and you got way better odds. So I'm trying to figure out if there's something going on here that I'm missing as far as Gabe Davis is concerned.
Yeah, I don't think you're missing anything. I think that's just how the lines moved over the course of the day to get more betting action. I don't think it's any kind of particular news related thing.
Yeah, maybe not. We'll see. I hope not. But hold on.
What, you're reading what EMAC is putting?
Oh, it's EMAC. EMAC threw in EMAC. All right, EMAC, that was sharp. Yeah, everybody go check out EMAC's article for tonight. You honestly should, by the way, if you haven't done so yet. Here it is, right there. Free Thursday Night Football team by position full player pool rankings by EMAC, and it's free. Go check it out. Throw the link in there again, EMAC. People can multitask here. No problem with that. There
or here, I'll put it back on the screen. All you have to do, press your computer screen. It'll take you to the article.
He's one step ahead of me. But no, I think he's fine. I mean, the question then becomes, who else is going to be out there? Elijah Moore, Joshua Palmer, who's been a colossal disappointment. Tyrell Shavers had a big game, but he was targeted 4 times. He just happened to have like 4 for 90 and a touchdown. Khalil Shakir is the obvious answer, but I mentioned the Spags this morning. Like, Josh Allen doesn't really play favorites. You know, even Khalil Shakir, who he likes a lot and is a decent enough receiver, he doesn't really play favorites in the sense that what's Shakir going to average on the year? 6.5 targets per game, 6 targets per game or something. And then if Kincaid's out there, it's even less predictable. So when it comes to this Bills team, I completely eschew everything I see in previous weeks. And you just got to be like, where's the best value?
The other thing too, tying Gabe Davis into this is one of these things that's going to go beyond data. Shavers is projected for 20% ownership, which is still not an insignificant amount. I tend to think he's going to be higher on than that because people are just going to look at the game he had last week and be like, this is the new #1 wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills, and he's only $2,400. I think he's going to go higher on than projected on FanDuel and DraftKings, where people are just going to not care what the targets were last week. They're just going to see the fantasy point total and go, that's the guy I'm rostering.
That I think there's going to be a lot of that. And you're getting him at a cheap price point, right?
Yeah, very, very cheap. And that's not even to say that I think he's a poor player or anything like that. I'm likely going to be underweight to the field to him, but it's just more reason to like Gabe Davis as a leverage option.
I think so too, for sure. Yeah, Gabe Davis to me makes a lot of sense. And, Shavers does too. So does Khalil Shakir. They all do is kind of what I'm getting at here. What about Elijah Moore?
Elijah Moore is another one who, like, if I just have to pick one guy for you all right now, I'm going to go with Gabe Davis. But there's no reason to me that Elijah Moore, other than the fact that the production was different last week, that he should be looked at significantly different than Shavers. But Shavers is just the guy I think the field is going to click on because of, like I said, the game he had last week. So I do prefer Gabe Davis, but I think Elijah Moore is certainly another viable option on the lower end. So if I'm ranking how I feel about the cheap wide receivers as far as GPP plays go, it's going to be Gabe Davis 1 for me, Elijah Moore 2, and then Shavers 3.
Elijah Moore. Okay. All right. What about Dawson Knox?
Yeah, Dawson Knox to me is just kind of a different category. And the reason I'd put him into a different category, one, he's a little bit more expensive at 4K. Also, he's got a little bit more of a stable role also. I think that he's somebody who's like high floor, low ceiling at 4K is Dawson Knox. Like, I think it's very unlikely he goes for like 100+ yards and a touchdown or something like that. But I think it's fairly likely he's going to get targeted, like 3, 4, maybe 5 times by Josh Allen. Maybe catches a touchdown, maybe he doesn't. But I think he's a solid option. He doesn't have the same variance that some of the wide receivers have.
Yeah, he's fine. I mean, he's an end zone threat, a red zone threat. I don't have an issue with it. Jackson Hawes is another guy that can vulture like he did. Was that last week, actually? Did he vulture last week, too? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
No, it wasn't last week. The week before. I feel like everyone vultured last week. Ty Johnson, Shavers, and then, of course, Josh Allen, which I needed, had three rushing touchdowns to himself. But, I mean, God, that was just such an insane game. Guy throws 3 touchdowns, runs for 3, has 317 yards on 19 completions. Who else did he throw one to? Johnson, Shavers.
I was about to pull up the targets, unless you already have it in front of you.
I'm just trying to remember who caught the other touchdown, but I don't remember. I mean, he threw 3 of them. Oh, James Cook caught one. That's right. James Cook caught one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, there was the two running back touchdowns, James Cook and Ty Johnson. Overall, I mean, targets were so spread out last week. If you just look at nobody had more than 5. And he had 3 for James Cook, 2 for Ty Johnson, the wide receivers, 5 for Shavers, 5 for Palmer. Shakir only having, of all the games for Shakir to have like his lowest target share, it makes zero sense that last week would have been the game with Kincaid out and then Keon Coleman benched for what we're being told at least is kind of like disciplinary / attitude reasons. Get 4 for Gabe Davis, 3 for Curtis Samuel, and he's out this week. Dawson Knox had 3. The targets were, even by Josh Allen standards, incredibly spread out.
There's definitely a part of me this week that I'm tempted to just run Josh Allen naked again in a showdown slate. It seems insane, I know, but I don't know how crazy it really is. If it's like all of these guys, maybe running him naked is the wrong move, but definitely with some +1s. Yeah, I have no problem with just running some +1s in a spot like this. I really don't.
The only reason it's hard to say naked is because that kind of implies that you're like stacking lineups more heavily towards the Texans, which I don't necessarily think I'm doing either, although I'll have to go look at my my lineups. It's more so that it's hard to be uber confident in any of the pass catchers for the Bills.
Yeah, I mean, look, what it would ultimately be is, I shouldn't say, actually, I shouldn't even say that. What it would be like Josh Allen and James Cook, something like that. I could see myself doing, aside from just like Josh Allen with Dawson Knox, Khalil Shakir, and Gabe Davis. It just feels so gross, man. And I'm not saying it can't work, because it absolutely can work. But it's you're first they have to perform against a really good secondary, on the road on a short week against you're talking an elite secondary. Jalen Petre's out, but still they're very good. Also an elite pass rush, right? So first you have to do that. And then, dude, we have to figure out who it is that he's throwing to. Look, that's just the nature of the beast on a slate like this. You have to. You're going to have to play some +2s or 3s because anything can happen. But, like I actually, and I'm not recommending you guys do this. I'm just letting you know what I did. I capped Josh Allen at captain to get less than I was getting. Again, you guys play it however you'd like, but I capped him at the captain's. I put a cap on him at the captain spot.
Yeah, and I just realized that I didn't have this here. But anyway, I wanted to show you guys the ownership that we have, which is on FanDuel. It is crazy. Josh Allen's nearly 50% owned as the MVP over on FanDuel. On DraftKings, still really popular, 32% captain ownership. If you're playing a cash game, you play Josh Allen. He's fine in GPPs too, although you're going to want to find some ways to differentiate, or else you're going to be duped with a lot of people. What I think is really interesting about today, Lofty, is trying to find out, unless you guys are just jamming Josh Allen in the multiplier spot, which is one viable way to play the slate, is who the hell do we like outside of Josh Allen to play in the multiplier spot? Because any lineup that doesn't have him, well, I guess there's some ownership going to James Cook and Nico Collins, but in general, you're way less likely to be duped if you play a non-Josh Allen multiplier lineup.
I like Woody Marks at captain if the game goes the way we need it to. Again, for those of you guys tuning in late, you need the game to stay close. You mentioned it. You're right. You don't need it to stay close. Woody Marks is actually very good in space. He's a very shifty pass catching back. He can create. I hit that Woody Marks ladder a few weeks ago, 40 plus yards. He actually hit it in the first quarter, but he still only had maybe 2 receptions in that game. So you got to get a little bit lucky there. I like him. I like James Cook. The Bills may look to really try and run the ball a lot today. Again, short week on the road. Houston's run defense is good, but their pass rush and secondary is like really good. So yeah, like James Cook, Woody Marks. It's a tough spot for Nico against this pass rush. Davis Mills, I think, is going to be under a lot of pressure. And if you look, I will say the O-line for the Texans has actually been a lot better over the last month. That is not to say they've been good, but they have been markedly better. For real though, they have. You look at the pressure rate on Houston quarterbacks over their last 4 games. They're like, it's bottom 10, bottom 12 or so in the league as far as pressure, not protection, but pressure rate. So that's not bad. But there is a very difficult matchup, and I still don't think they're particularly good. And Davis Mills under pressure in the 2.5 or so games he's played has been very, very, very ineffective. So, if I were to rank my captains today, crazy as it sounds, it's probably James Cook, Woody Marks, Josh Allen, then Nico.
I have, I don't really disagree with any of those guys. There's one contrarian captain who I am boosting that I really like a lot today. Want to take a guess at who it is?
A contrarian captain that you're boosting that you like a lot. On the Bills?
All right, we can do it like this. You could ask me some questions. We'll eliminate. So this is going to we're immediately going to take half the players off the slate, not on the Bills.
All right, it's not. All right, it's not a skill player then, right? Is it Christian Kirk?
It is not Christian Kirk.
Dalton Schultz then?
It is Dalton Schultz. I don't know that people realize how much work he is getting with Davis Mills at quarterback. It is a crazy amount. The last 3 games, Dalton Schultz has 9, 11, and 8 targets. That is a massive workload for a guy who's going to save you some salary in the captain spot too. He's $9,600 in the captain spot over on DraftKings, pulling 4% ownership. Over on FanDuel, he's 2% owned in the MVP spot, with people even more gravitating towards Josh Allen. With this kind of workload and a game script that should set up favorably for them to throw the football, I think he's just under-owned. I think there's a pretty significant ceiling to Dalton Schultz with this kind of workload.
Sure. Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, I think you have to throw the one game out that Nico didn't play, but aside from that, still he's getting work. But again, like This all goes back to what I was saying at the top of the show. If they are able to move the football and limit Josh Allen, it doesn't mean Schultz can't have a good game, but Davis Mills has thrown 40 plus times in back-to-back games. I really don't think they want to do that with Davis Mills. If they do, they're insane. But if this ends up being a game where they have to throw, then yeah, Schultz is going to get a lot of work. I don't know if Christian Kirk is just washed at this point. You have Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel is going to get, a few snaps out there. But yeah, Schultz is, I think it's fair to say Schultz is probably, because Hutchinson's whatever, but I think Schultz is probably the number 2 behind Nico in the passing game. Sure.
Yeah, Kirk has played less snaps than both Hutchinson and Higgins, or played less snaps than both of them last week. So I don't think they're super high on Christian Kirk, even though they signed him in the offseason. It seems like they're starting to prioritize the younger guys a little bit more. But one thing I wanted to add too about the targets to Dalton Schultz is those last 3 games actually don't encompass the game that Nico Collins missed. The weird thing about the game Nico Collins missed is that is the least amount of targets that Dalton Schultz has the entire season. So if you look at the targets that Schultz has had this season, he had 3 in the game that Collins was out, and that is the only game that he has not had more than 4 targets the entire season.
God, was that 4 games ago already that Nico missed?
Yeah. So the last 3 games where Schultz had 8, 11, and 9 targets, all those games were with Nico Collins, and Collins still had 11, 15, and 10 targets.
Wow.
These are just the 2 guys that Mills seems to really like honing in on. They are getting, they're averaging over 20 targets per game as a duo since Mills took over.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. I like him more at flex, but no problem at captain. I'm looking now. I have a couple of Dalton Schultz captain lineups. Yeah, I got a few in there. What do you I think the kickers also look good. Fairbairn and Prater, both of them. First of all, you're in a dome, so you don't have any concerns about weather. That always helps. It's funny because
traditionally
Thursday night games have been low scoring, which typically favors kickers. And then last year we saw a big trend, the trend just died and went in the opposite direction. And then this year, a lot of those Thursday games were really, really high scoring. Not last week. What was last? Actually, I don't remember. What was last week? Patriots, Jets.
Mm-hmm.
And then the week before that was Broncos, Raiders. So, I mean, yeah. But no, on these short weeks, you do run into spots where it's just 2 teams with 2 good defenses, and the game ends up being played in between the 20s, right? Or with the new kicking rules, I guess, in between the 30s. And with the fact that kickers can just boot 90-yarders now, it's ridiculous.
Hey, we're not far away from Brandon Aubrey making an actual 90-yard field goal.
Hold on, let me shout out Sam Weiss real quick. Kirk won me 15K years ago because Laffy had a really good feeling about him that week. Always have a soft spot for him. But for me, thanks, Sam. I know you're talking about Kirk. Sam, I remember that because you shouted us out. That might have been like 4 or 5 years ago. I distinctly remember the Kirk game because I remember you hit. Maybe I'm just totally misremembering, but I remember you coming back in the chat, or maybe it was on Twitter or something, and hitting us up and letting us know that Christian Kirk was the reason you had that monster week. So I remember that. Yeah. But anyway, go ahead.
I just wanted to go because Austin left the super chat a couple of times. So I feel bad. The first time he didn't have text and he threw it into the YouTube chat. So we left another super chat with the same question. And I have more disappointing news for him because the answer is no, unfortunately. But he wanted to know, is it possible to know what the sim ROI was for the recent Millie makers? Are they just finding crazy high ROI or a happy medium? So what you could do is, I know this is not what you're asking, you could go and you could review some of the lineups in the post-contest sims. But for the Millie makers, we don't have the information of what the sim ROI was in the pre-contest sims, which I assume is what it is that you're looking for. But I know people try to do crazy things where they're like, oh, I need to find a lineup that is like negative 25% sim ROI because that's what it was in the post-contest sims or something like that. Still, your general strategy should be trying to find some of the highest sim ROI lineups within the parameters you're looking for, whether it's setting some uniques or trying to vary your exposures or a little bit. And I'm not even saying, Austin, that you're trying to necessarily play lineups that are like negative sim ROI. It's just something I see people ask all the time. And I know Lofty's seen this as well, where somebody looks in the post-contest sims and they see a lineup with a certain ROI and they're like, oh, I need to play this exact ROI lineup now from the pre-contest sims. Your still general strategy should be to focus on the highest sim ROI lineups that come out of the Sims tool, making some of the little tweaks and adjustments you make. We don't want to do anything like too drastic or crazy.
For sure. Yeah, I got nothing to add except this. I can pretty much guarantee you that Deepak, who is a Stokastic Sims user, he hit us up on Twitter the other day. I can almost guarantee you, and I know a lot of you guys in chat are Sims users as well, so you will agree with me, no doubt. Greg, I can almost guarantee you this was a very high simmed ROI before the contest started. This was a type of build that we were getting a lot of, right? Bijan, unadulterated sims run, right? So factory settings, I was getting around 20%. I was getting around 15% Aaron Jones. Tedero McMillan was a guy that the sims were giving me a lot of, and I didn't know why, and now I do. And then, of course, Trey McBride and McCaffrey, but they were feeding a lot of Jacoby Brissett three-man stacks. This is your prototypical Sims lineup. There's just no doubt about it. I've never been more confident in my life that this was a very high simmed ROI lineup. Now, does that mean anything? No, like this lineup could have just not cashed at all. But the whole purpose of the Sims is to put you in a position to win when all the stars align. And in this case, a lot of people were stacking Brissett, but they weren't stacking Jacoby Brissett with three of his pass catchers and having Tedero and McMillan in those lineups as well. Like McCaffrey was chalky, McBride. Look at the ownership, by the way, if you guys are curious, right? Steelers defense is low. Tedero and McMillan is low. Dortch is around 10%, but everyone else was 10% or higher. So this is not a crazy lineup. And you can take this same thought process for Showdown. You can take the same thought process for main slates, whatever it may be, Thanksgiving coming up. This was not a crazy lineup at all. It was one or two pieces that were low owned, but good players or cheap players in good spots.
Yeah. And you see right here from Sparks in chat here, he said, the Sims were forcing McMillan into my lineups. And I said, no, thanks.
That happens, man.
Yeah. It'll have like people, there's going to be times where the data suggests something and it could go either way. Yeah. Right. Like it doesn't mean if the data suggests somebody that they're no matter what going to end up hitting, but more often than not, the data does know better than what our, goofy, dumb brains think.
Yeah, man, the Falcons just suck ass, man. I really thought they were going to be okay. Apparently not. Robert Buss, thank you for the super chat. Scenario where Allen is shut down tonight by Houston D turns into a ground game and kicking battle. That's what I'm saying. It could, yeah. But he's also Josh Allen. So, there's no way I just don't want any Josh Allen. I have a ton of Josh Allen at the flex. I just capped him a little bit at the captain spot. But yeah, it's a tough matchup, and I could see that happening. If he does get shut down, or, I don't know what your definition of shut down is, but if it's like a tough game for Josh Allen and he can't just move the ball at will on the ground and through the air, then yeah, I think it turns into a ground game, especially for Houston. McDermott and this whole offense can be very stubborn about throwing the ball even when they shouldn't be. We've seen them trying to throw the ball in blizzards with 50-mile-per-hour winds. Like remember against the Patriots? And Mac Jones, I think it was, threw 2 times and completed 1 pass in the whole game. But no, yeah, I think that could be the case. And you're in a dome, so all of that is reasonable. Gary Davis, by the way, welcome to the team, brother. Appreciate you.
And then also, just random thing. I mean, we're not that far removed from. It was about a month ago. The Bills get not like killed by the Falcons on Monday Night Football, but they didn't play well in that game. They lost by 10 points. You had multiple turnovers and less than 200 passing yards out of Josh Allen in that game. So could it happen? Yeah, we've seen weirder things happen in weirder spots because that Falcons team is trash and they shut down Josh Allen.
Yep. Right. On prime time with the Bills coming off of a bye. Peanut butter, 16x. I'm afraid he goes nuclear again and you can't outscore him with a cap. It's possible.
It's the most likely. That is the most likely scenario.
I don't think the most likely scenario is that he goes nuclear, but you're saying the most likely situation is that he is the highest scoring captain.
Yeah.
But that
and the highest scoring player in the game. Both those things are the most likely scenarios.
Right. I don't like speaking or making it. I know you're not doing this, by the way, but I don't want it to sound like we're speaking in absolutes here either, right? Because like here, I'm gonna just pull the top single game and showdown tool up, right? So to give everybody an idea of what I'm talking about here. So while you're 100% right that in all likelihood, he is the highest scoring player and he is the optimal captain, we're still talking about a scenario where, look, optimal captain, 30%. So great. He is the highest by a pretty wide margin, but that also means there's a 70% chance that he's not the optimal captain, right? And it's easy to overlook that. You see a number and you go, by God, how do I not play him? Well, yeah, 30% of the time within our tools, and these are simulations as well, the top single game and showdown plays tool, which, by the way, if you have the sims, if you have any package, whether it's max or core, you have access to this and the boom bust tool and the top stack. So take advantage of it for those of you that don't know. But again, like, look, right, 30%, that's still 70% chance that he's not the optimal captain.
Yeah, actually, I'm also curious. Could you click on the FanDuel one real quick too, just so we could see what some of the
happy to, yeah.
Yeah, and then it's a little bit higher because of the FanDuel scoring without the PPR, but 43.5% of the time, he's the optimal captain over on FanDuel. So a couple of things are going on here. Number one, his odds of being the highest scoring player in the optimal captain are way higher than every other player on the slate. The other part of this too, though, is it still doesn't happen like 90% of the time or something like that. And we actually do have him higher owned than what his odds are of being the optimal captain / MVP. So I do like being a little bit underweight to the field to Josh Allen, but obviously he's still a warranted captain play. You just have to find ways to not make that lineup duped a million times. And actually, I'm going to sort right here. If you wouldn't mind throwing my screen back on here, Lofty, I'm going to sort by the most dupes for today, which something here that's actually kind of surprising. And yeah, peanut butter. Thank you. Thank you, peanut
Appreciate
butter.
it, man.
So on FanDuel, there are going to be a lot of dupes just because of the ownership on Josh Allen. But does this surprise you? In a 50,000 lineup pool, we actually don't have any lineups projected to be duped north of 100 times. Because I think what's happening here, sure, people play Josh Allen in the captain spot, but then there are so many guys that people are uncertain about with his pass catchers. They just don't know who to pair him with. Right. And it actually is making it so there aren't that many dupes with some of these Josh Allen lineups relative to what I thought it was going to be. That
does actually make a lot of sense. Whereas if it were, if it were, let's say, Joe Flacco, it's like, you have Chase and you have a few guys there, and then everybody kind of funnels to the same value plays as well. But in this case, those value plays are spread out across the board. The same with Houston too. So yeah, it makes sense. All in a year. Speaking absolute, so I can come talk shit next live stream. This must be your first show, brother. There's plenty of stuff. Plenty of ways you can talk shit without me speaking in absolutes. You'll have your opportunities. Don't worry. But Michelle, Lavi, how do you like Texans D at captain and fading Mills and Cook? Yeah, that's fine. Look, if you want to get weird here, I bet we might even have a couple captain lineups with the Texans in there. I would assume they have at least one of Woody Marks and Nick Chubb, maybe even both of them. Honestly, maybe we don't have any. I thought we would.
No, we do. I just went and checked the exposures there really quick. We actually got about 4% of our lineups have the Texans in them at the captain. So here's what those look like. Just these handful of ones that are favorited. They're obviously super bizarre looking lineups because, you're just starting with a sub 1% owned captain option, but you've got here the number one sim ROI Texans captain defense lineup is Texans defense, Bills defense, Dalton Schultz, James Cook, Nico Collins, Woody Marks. And that's actually a lineup that only leaves $400 in salary on the table, but both the defenses in it.
I don't hate it at all. Like, you got to have some balls to go in there and be like, you know what? I'm probably going to burn some money with defensive captain, but it's worked in the past. Sean, do you like Shavers or Ty Johnson? I personally would still prefer Shavers. That isn't to say I'm in love with the guy today, but um, when you take a look at Ty Johnson, last week he had that big 52-yard touchdown catch, right? It was like the last thing I needed, having as much Josh Allen as I did. He only had 2 receptions on 2 targets and 1 rushing attempt. And when you look at his workload, like this guy, you're talking, Greg, typically 1 or 2 targets per game and like 1 or 2 rushing attempts per game. So I think with Coleman out, with Curtis Samuel out, with Mecole Hardman on the IR, and with Terrell Shavers last game playing 54% of snaps and likely playing more tonight, it stands to reason that he's going to be out there more, and he should at least have a couple more opportunities. And he's very cheap.
So we got a couple questions from Discord. One of them I was prepping for while you were talking right there. But we got a question from Discord. This first one is from Richie Smalls. Richie wanted to know, how different or contrarian is a 5-1 Texans lineup with Allen? Yeah, that's going to be pretty contrarian. And I also went into the Sims here, and just out of curiosity, I filtered by Houston 5 lineups with Josh Allen, and there's only 2 out of the top 150 here. So a couple of them showed up. They're not really simming out all that well, but it's going to be contrarian. Any Houston 5 lineup is going to be contrarian, though.
Try this, though. And by the way, they do sim out well, those top 2 ones, as you mentioned. It's not the craziest thing.
But overall, there's only 2 out of 150.
For sure. But I'm saying it's not the most insane idea. Like there's at least some of them or a couple of them. And it looks like a few of them are still positively sim. They're just not in the top 150. So I don't want to ignore that. But I bet if you did Houston 5-1 with James Cook James Cook as the 1, I bet there'd be more of that. Which sounds counterintuitive. Yep. I just had a feeling it sounds counterintuitive because he's a running back. But it's not when you consider that James Cook doesn't rely on anybody else to get production, unless it's in the passing game. Sure. But that's more catching a pass as a running back is a lot more valuable. Catching a pass, anyone is more valuable for the player than it is for the quarterback. So, it's just if this game goes in that direction, it would be a super weird game script with a 5-1 being optimal with James Cook. But, when James Cook produces, nobody else is producing around him. And that's the difference between going with a Nate or with a solo Josh Allen in a Houston 5-1 and a solo James Cook. Because when James Cook performs, it takes away from everybody else in Buffalo.
Yeah, so those we had 8 top 150 lineups that are Houston 5 with James.
That's kind
Cook.
of a lot.
And then we had one other question. Yeah, it was out of 150. That's not an insignificant amount. And then Capanakella has a question for us. I think this is an interesting way to look at the slate. So he's playing single entry. He wants to know if we were playing just one single entry lineup, Lofty, who'd be our captain in that one single entry lineup? Would you go with Josh Allen? Would you go somewhere else? He wants to know for one lineup, who's the pick?
Probably Cook or Marks.
Schultz for me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, dude, you could go Schultz and then just not, if you're doing a single entry, assuming it's one of the smaller field ones, you could go Schultz at captain and not get weird anywhere else and be fine.
Yeah. Let's see. What is the highest Sim ROI Schultz captain lineup? Let's see. What is that looking like? Dalton Schultz. Number 1 Sim ROI Schultz lineup. It is double tight end. Schultz, Knox, Cook, Allen, Chubb, Woody Marks. You got both the Houston running backs in there. So, I mean, it's definitely going to be unique. I don't know that you need to get that unique for a single entry. Let's see. What's the second one here? Yeah, I think I'd be a little more inclined to go to this one or the third one. So this one, Schultz, Davis Mills, Dawson Knox, Josh Allen, Texans defense, Woody Marks. Or this one, Schultz, the Bills defense, Davis Mills, Elijah Moore, James Cook, Josh Allen. For single entry, I'd probably a little bit more inclined to play one of those 2 lineups than the top one that is both of the running backs. It's almost too contrarian to be needed for like a smaller field contest. But yeah, Dalton Schultz for me.
Okay. And how do I not nated? How do I say that? I don't know. It's a Shrek avatar, though. I know that much. Such an interesting game to build for. Watch something happen that no one expected, like Nick Chubb for 3 touchdowns. Yeah, I mean, I think that's unlikely, but I will say, man, if you're over on tails, you already know I bet this. Greg mentioned he bet this as well. I had Nick Chubb up there for the FanDuel $2 million jackpot. Him and Gabe Davis. Sorry, Gabe Davis, but I threw in as a honorable mention to Nick Chubb for anybody who wanted that as well. I absolutely think so. I have a ton of bets.
That's the one that Lofty's wife bet from her account.
Yeah. I got a 30% boosted same game parlay up to plus 510 for tonight on tails. Some of you, and I got a ton for Sunday already. I got a bunch of bets for Sunday. Posted our exclusive perfect lineup from the perfect lineup video here. We do DFS on tails as well, Greg. That's right. So if some of you are saying, what the hell is tails? I mean, what are you living under a rock? It's the greatest thing out there. If you like to bet sports, if you like to play DFS, if you like to have free content, you just download the Tails app. Or here, I'll do you one better. Go to the link in the description, the tails.bet, click it, follow Greg and myself. You create a free account. That's it. You're not opening your wallet. You're literally just creating a free account and you're getting free bets. You're getting to check out the leaderboards to see who's killing it lately. You can one-click tail these bets. So if I wanted to tail a 30% boosted same game parlay, I just click tail and all of the sports books, whichever ones I want, pop up 100% available to me. Would you believe that? You click it, tail parlay, and boom, it adds it straight into your sports book. That's the best thing possible. Why would you want to manually have to find all of these bets when you could just do that and then turn on notifications? So you get the notification, boom, click it, you're in. It's all there is to it, man. It's a wonderful thing. So if you're not there yet, come join us on Tails and leave us a rating and a review in the App Store if you love it. That's the best thing you could do for us.
Ooh, nice super chat here, by the way. We've got a birthday shout out. R. Petrino 440 says, gentlemen, took a short break for my wife's birthday celebration, crab cakes and football. Look at you, your wife wanting to watch football for her birthday. To do my Stokastic duties, please wish Holly a happy birthday. Good luck to all tonight. So happy birthday to Polly.
Polly, hey, happy birthday. And thank you for the super chat, man. He could have spent that on his wife, but
no.
I'm kidding. I appreciate you, man. That's awesome. Happy birthday, Polly. And crab cakes and football sounds wonderful. Are you doing crab cake sandwiches or just crab cakes? I'm fine with either. And the real question is, are you a cocktail sauce guy or the dreaded, what's it called? What the hell is that? What is it? What's the white sauce? I can never remember what this is called. I have a mental block for some reason.
Tahini sauce.
No, come on, dude.
Ranch.
No, tartar sauce.
just dipping crab cakes in ranch dressing.
People do, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure they're very fat people, but yeah, they definitely do.
Cocktail sauce over tartar sauce all day, baby. All day, not even a question. All right, defenses we hit on kickers. We had questions about having them at captain. I actually don't think it's nuts in a game like this. It's a pretty low total. Trying to think if there's anyone we haven't touched on. I mean, man, we're up against it. It is a pretty good show. I think we hit on everything.
Yeah, the only thing that we haven't really mentioned that isn't super pertinent for this slate, but any punts you have a lean on? Is there anybody sub $1,000 who you think like, oh, that if I need to save salary, that's the guy to click on?
I mean, it's Thursday night. You guys, I don't need to say it. CDP, terrible show. Eagles suck. Appreciate you watching. Appreciate you watching, brother. That I can tell you this much. That definitely wasn't personal. So Kaleki Latu was brought up and he's active tonight. I think he's $200 and it's a Thursday night, which means, well, the rogue tight end touchdowns tend to happen. So could it be Jackson Hawes? Maybe. Could it be Kaleki Latu? It might be. Remember me saying that. I might I might bet him to score a touchdown right now.
It's hard to feel very good about any of these cheap guys. So
I'm doing
I'd
it.
say, take this with a grain of salt because I don't have much exposure to any cheap guys today. If I have to pick one, it's going to be Cade Stover. Played 20% of snaps last week. It's something. There aren't that many cheap guys who I feel good enough to say are going to play 20% of snaps.
That's fine. I'm betting Kalecki Latu at plus 2,800 to score a touchdown, Greg.
All right.
Are there any touchdown boosts out there today? That would be sick.
I don't think so for Thursday night football, or at least not ones that I was
No, I don't think
offered.
so.
You never like some of these books like Fanatics that if they think you might be profitable, they turn off all your promos 40 minutes after using the book. So like maybe some of those sorts of books are offering promos for today, but not that I have available to me.
All right. Well, I'm going to do it and we'll see how it goes. But I think that's it. As far as the tight or the wide receivers for Houston goes, I know we didn't spend a ton of time on those guys, but truth is it's just like a spray and pray, in my opinion. Higgins, Hutchinson, sure. Nico Collins is the top guy. I think Kirk's still behind him, but that's about it, man. I think we're there. I got my lineups in. I assume you got your lineups in and you're good to go.
Yeah, and then also for the cheap Texans receivers, almost none of them show up meaningfully in the Sims. So let's see. Who do we have the most of? Yeah, we have the most of Xavier Hutchinson, and it's 10% of him. They just don't show up as prominently as the Buffalo guys.
Real quick, K-Real Fishing, before you guys go, any thoughts on Allen and Davis chemistry winning the game? That's why I bumped him. That's why I boosted him last week. Yeah, it's truly, you don't know. You have no clue. It's a short week. Gabe Davis had his first action last week. But yeah, I think there is something to, I don't know about winning the game, but like, does Gabe Davis get an end zone target or two because Josh Allen is completely devoid of options? I think it's very possible. Yeah. So I have a decent amount of Gabe Davis today for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you're here at the top, but I mean, I did say that if I'm picking one of the cheap Bills pass catchers to roster, all things being considered, the ownership, the price point, all of that, Gabe Davis is the guy for me. And part of it is what Laffy had mentioned there, what you're getting at. There's just more. It's kind of similar to, although to a much lesser extent. We weren't sure, did Keenan Allen have anything left in the tank or not this season? There's a part of it too, where just there was a familiarity that Justin Herbert had with him that just enabled them to be able to get on the same page right away. I think there's something similar with Gabe Davis and Josh Allen.
I think the only thing we know is that Kalecki Latu is going to score a touchdown today.
Yeah, lock. The first plus 2,800 lock of the year.
I love when Red Zone pulls this, where they show, I forget what they call it. What do they call it? They show it up there every single week where they show the long shot touchdown scores. And it's like, how unbelievably irresponsible to like go out there and just be promoting the 50-1 guys that scored that week and will never, probably in the history of their NFL careers, never score again. You know what I mean?
It's the only reason that Laffy's betting Kai Kalecki. He saw those 51 scores last week. He started shaking. He's like, I need to find somebody ridiculous to score for Thursday Night Football.
Kai Kalecki, get his name right, man. Come on, have some respect. Have some respect. Kalecki Latu. You haven't been following Kalecki Latu?
No.
All right. No, it's not the montage. They literally have something that pops up and he's like, all right, it's time for the blah, blah, blah. And they just rattle off guys that you've never heard of that have scored. Oh, plus. Oh, I might have to. It's probably still up there. I might take that. I might take the 100-1 Kalecki Latu first touchdown score.
All right. 100-1. 100-1.
Anyway.
If you bet it every year of his career, which is probably only going to be 2 seasons, he only has to do it once and it would pay off.
Well, my dumbass said I was going to do that with Scott Matlock and it would have paid off. It would have paid off in spades the second week.
Yes,
literally the second week it would have paid off. But I'm a moron and I forgot. I need you guys in chat to remind me. Anyway, Appreciate you guys as always. You know where to find the tools. Come check out Stokastic. And we'll see you back here tomorrow. Greg and myself, the Sim Strategy Show, one of the biggest ones of the week. So be sure not to miss it. Bye-bye.